Hey everybody, welcome to the GMG review. Today we're taking a look at Deathtome. Hey everybody, welcome to the GMG review. Today we're taking a look at Death Battletome Flesheater Courts, which remains one of just like hit after hit coolest model collections in Warhammer Age of Sigmar. Definitely leans into the grimdark, and is accompanied by the release of this cool new Lord Felgrin, High Falconer Felgrin. Character model, it's actually two character models, and is one of the two big pre-orders today for Death in 4th edition Age of Sigmar. I'll be honest, the Flesheater Courts are the biggest, I think, brand improvement in the AOS model line. They took ghouls that were fine in Warhammer Fantasy Battle, fleshed them out with all kinds of new units, and the characters are just absolute bangers. The storyline's great, and I love this miniature. Just a weird, crazy falconer. He's got a bat on his hat. He's got a bat on his finger. He's got a little pet bat that he wants to hang out with. This is one of those ones where it's kind of like the Warhammer Underworlds kits. Like if you just want to buy a cool miniature to check out, this is a one-off fun painter's model. And it's got neat new rules too. So you got a 28 and a 32 for your basing size, and there's no variations for this one. It's just a single build. But I'm very excited to add this guy to my burgeoning Flesheater Courts army. And this is the 4th edition book for Flesheater Courts. Now, these guys suffered from a bad case in 3rd edition of last in, first out. They got their Battletome really late in 3rd edition. So they got a bunch of new units in that Battletome, which with them and the Night Haunts is kind of why this is like a light release. There's not a ton of stuff in this release. It's like one new model that they kind of probably held back. It was done around the same time, I'm betting, or just developed for this to give them something so they get their new Battletome. And it's the usual big old book of full color information about what's going on with these guys, their royal houses, the Carrion King, who I absolutely love, Usharan the Mortarch. He's their big, crazy King Arthur, who thinks he's a knight. They all think they're knights. They think they're like the Bretonnians of this world, when in fact they're degenerate vampires and ghouls who eat everything. Just the best deluded monsters. I love these guys so much. But we got some new text in here for the Rogues Gallery. I have no desire to speak over much of High Falconer Felgrin. Bah, but we are blessed with a fair coterie of rogues. Some come to a number amongst the Summer Kings of my innermost circle. He's a Robin Hood that works for Usharan. And his background is very fun. Because there's a little of, for how gruesome this part of the army is, it has a real tongue-in-cheek comedy to it, if that makes sense. It's kind of like meatball horror, if you want me to quote a film line. And you can see some of the newer miniatures from the last set of releases, the Morbeg Knights, the Cardinal, the Gore Warden. These were all some of the miniatures that came out in 3rd, late in the releases, along with the Crypt Guard and the new Vargulf Courtier. Just beautiful miniatures. Of course, Nagash can party with Usharan if he wants and keep him on the up and up. We've got some pretty cool stuff in here, though. The new throne, obviously, was a release from that edition, too, from late 3rd. And then all these absolute heroes, the Decapitator, the Marascrow Herald. Where's the Judge? The Judge is my favorite. His little hat, his little screwball hat. And then some older miniatures, like these guys, the Ghouls and the Horrors, and the Flares. The Royal Beast Flares were added in. These were a release for Warhammer Warcry. Sigmar Warcry. And you're going to see them in a minute, actually. So let's jump in, talk about the rules. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the core rules for the army itself in Warhammer Age of Sigmar, including the Regiments of Renown and the Armies of Infamy. And then we'll jump into the Spearhead and then talk a little bit about the Anvil of Apotheosis at the end. Once again, if you're looking for unit sizes and point values, they're not in this book. They are in a separate document, which will be available, I assume, eventually, but I don't have them in this book to review, so I'm not gonna talk about them. I'm also gonna focus on new units mostly. I don't do the thing. I don't do the balancy thing. I'm a vibes guy. I like painting cool miniatures and playing games with my friends and telling a story. So if you're looking for AOS balance stuff, I'm sure you can find that somewhere else, working off a copy of cell phone photos of their book. Then we've got our faction rules. Let's dive in. Once per turn army at the start of any turn, all your Flesheater Courts get to be a kingdom deluded. Declare you must use this ability at the start of each turn. If it's the first turn of the battle, pick a delusion from these battle traits, or unless otherwise specified, from the war scroll of a friendly unit in the battlefield. So basically, if they have a special one. The effect on a delusion roll of 1 or 2, you must pick a different delusion from the one you picked last turn. 3 to 4, the same, even if it is on the worst roll view that's been destroyed. On a 5-6, you must pick a delusion like you did in the first turn. For the rest of the turn, you believe the delusion you pick. And so basically your army is constantly working off this vision they're having of what is actually happening, but they're actually a bunch of degenerate ghouls eating people. So they think they're like a procession of knights in pageantry when actually they're a bunch of like weird gargoyles riding giant bats. Because they're all insane. Passive, a splendid pageant. While you believe this delusion, each time a friendly Flesheater Courts unit, wholly within 12 of a friendly Flesheater Courts hero uses a run ability. If it was 1 to 3, you can pick 4 instead. And then while a friendly infantry hero unit is in combat range of a Flesheater Courts infantry hero unit with 5 or more models, you're not visible if you're not within 6. So basically this one is you can always run a 4 and you're invisible inside of your units. That's cool. Good for the first turn, obviously. And then a glorious banquet effect. While you believe this delusion, add 1 to the hit rolls for combat attacks made by friendly Flesheater Courts units that charged in the same turn while they're wholly within 12 of any friendly Flesheater Court heroes. Royal Blood. This is not a delusion. Pick any number of friendly abhorrents and have them heal D3 once per turn in your hero phase. So basically all your guys just start to like get better. They all hulk out. And this is to do with the fact you don't have any armor, right? So you're just walking around naked. So they give you your wounds back in your hero phase. And then summon loyal subjects. Declare, pick a friendly abhorrent to use this ability, then pick a friendly serfs or knights unit that's been destroyed. Set up a replacement unit with half their number of guys wholly within 6 of a battlefield edge and more than 9 from the enemy. So you can bring out a unit once per turn. So throw away those knights units and get them back. Muster guard. This is declare, pick any number of friendly nobles to be the targets. So this would be like your hero models. And the effect for every target, pick one of the following. Either return 3 slain models to a friendly serfs unit, wholly within 12. Return 1 slain knight, wholly within 12. The same unit cannot have models returned to it by this ability more than once. So no matter how many nobles you have, every unit can only be affected one time. It just spreads out the aura, basically, that affects it. And then once per battle, any combat phase, Feeding Frenzy. Pick a hero to be the target, and for the rest of the turn, add 1 of the attack characteristics of its melee weapons, including companion weapons, used by Flesheater Court units that are wholly within 12 of the target. He calls the Feeding Frenzy. So Glorious Banquet and Splendid Pageant are your 2 delusions, and the rest are just core abilities. Sound the Charge. Add 1 of the rend characteristic of melee weapons used by friendly knights units that charge in the same turn if they're within 12 of any friendly Flesheater Courts heroes. So that's your knightly echelon. That's your first one if you're going to take all the bats. Sorry, but knights can also be things like the flares, the crypt flares, and the Batwing ones. Oh shoot, what are they called? Crypt Horrors and Crypt Flares. I got that backwards. The Batwing ones are the Crypt Flares. The Crypt Horrors are the big ones. The ogre ones. Lords of the Manor. Raise the banners. Each time an ability returns at least 1 slave model to a unit that is not in combat after it's been resolved. If that unit is a serfs unit, you can return an additional slain model. If it's knights on a 4+, you can. So basically a bonus to all of your rallies. The Royal Hunt, once per turn per army at the end of any turn, like Snapping Hounds. Pick a friendly serfs unit in combat. For each target, make a pile in move, then pick an enemy unit that's in combat and roll a d3 on a 2+, do mortal damage equal to the roll. And then Indulge My Pretties, the Royal Menagerie. This is your dragons one. While a friendly non-hero Flesheater Courts monster or beast is wholly within 12 inches of any Flesheater Courts heroes, that non-hero unit can use a Rampage ability on its War Scroll. This is just all the time, even if another friendly monster has already done so. And if that non-hero unit charged in the same turn and the unmodified charge was a 9+, it has strike first because you're so big. So big monster one, knights one, get your units to pile in and do more damage once, like your serfs, and then raise the banners, get more guys back. All right, let's talk about them heroes. Your regal dispositions. Stronger in Madness. Ignore the first damage point that would be allocated to this unit each phase. In addition, other than companion weapons, weapon abilities for combat attacks that target this unit have no effect. So basically, crit mortal, crit auto wound, all that stuff just doesn't wound. It doesn't work. Strike first. If they're going to target them, I guess that would still work because that's usually a person ability, not a weapon ability. But anything that's on the weapon just doesn't work. Savage Beyond Reason, add 1 to the attack characteristic of this unit's melee weapons, including companion weapons, if it did not use a fight ability in the previous turn. So basically if it's first time in combat. Add 2 to the attack characteristic of the weapons while this unit's not used a fight ability this battle. So basically, the first time you fight, you're +2 attacks, you're +1 if you didn't fight in the previous turn. And then Cruel Taskmaster. The warriors pick a friendly non-hero Flesheater Courts unit wholly within 12 to this unit to be the target. Reroll your charge rolls. So your charge phase, and then the other one's just passive abilities. Artifacts for your heroes. The Splintered Femur. Pick an enemy unit in combat with this unit to be the target. On a 2+, on D3, pick one of the following. Either inflict mortal damage equal to the roll, or subtract 1 from the target's power level to a minimum of 0. If it's a manifestation, you just banish it. Just end of the turn. Just do it. Just whack them with a femur. Carnal Vestments. Carnal Vestments. If this unit's not a priest, it has priest 1. If it was a priest, it gets +1 to its chanting rolls. If this unit's a wizard, it can't use spell abilities and prayers in the same turn. And then the Grisly Pennant. If this unit charges this turn, pick an enemy unit in combat to be the target. Then roll a die. If the roll is greater than the target's control, or it's a 6, the following effect apply until the rest of the turn. Subtract 1 from hit rolls for the target's combat attacks, and then add 1 to hit rolls for combat attacks made by friendly units that target that enemy unit. And then we got our Spell Lore. So Deranged Transformation. This is on a 6. Pick a friendly Flesheater Court's wizard to cast a spell, and then pick a visible friendly Flesheater Court's infantry or cavalry unit wholly within 12 and roll this. 2d6 to cast. Until the start of your next turn, add 2 to their move, or add 1 to wound rolls for the target's combat attacks. So great for the night units, great for basically all your big infantry. On a 6, Cardinal Feast, pick a friendly wizard to cast a spell and a visible enemy unit within 18. You can also pick a friendly serfs unit within 6 of the target to be the raised ranks. Then a cast on a 6 on 2d6, inflict D3 mortal damage, and for each one that's the serf unit, you can add a slain model back to the ranks. So basically, you're making them have visions of madness to turn them into ghouls. And then Miasma of Madness on a 7. Pick a friendly wizard and pick a visible enemy with an 18, and then roll 2d6. Until the start of your next turn, for each unmodified hit roll of 1 for a combat attack made by the target, inflict a mortal damage on the target after the fight ability has been resolved. So guys start attacking themselves. Enemies with an 18. Your prayers, the Rites of Delusion. Excommunication. Pick a friendly priest to chant this prayer, and then roll a d6 on a 4+, and pick an enemy with an 18. At the start of your next turn, ignore positive save modifiers. In addition, if the chanting roll is 10+, ward rolls can't be made. So a big old debuff when you excommunicate them on a 4. And remember, you can get +1 to that chanting roll too if you're already a priest. Carnal Conviction. Actually, could you get +2 for being on the throne? Because I think the throne still gives you +1 as well. What say you, throne? Oh, why are you not in the throne? It's because that's the spearhead. It's because that's the spearhead, which I was going to tell you about in a second. Okay, where's this throne at? Come on, throny. Ugh. It's right here. Duty calls, reigning champion. Duty calls, if the train feature has a steward on it, I guess not. Well, the train feature has a steward. The steward cannot use move abilities. All attacks that would target the steward target the train feature. It gives him 10 extra wounds, basically. That's it now. Yeah, no more casting. No more casting bonuses. Okay. That's probably a couple editions ago. I'm just remembering it wrong. Carnal Conviction. Pick a friendly Flesheater Court's priest to chant it, and then a friendly unit wholly within 12 to do the target on a 4+. They get a 5+ ward. It was 10+. You can pick another eligible unit to be the second target, so 2 units get it instead. Summerking's Favor on a 5. Pick a friendly Flesheater Court's priest to do it, and a hero wholly within 12. Can't pick Nagash, though. Resolve the effect of the Renowned Might below. If the chanting roll is 10+, resolve the effect of Renowned Might or Tenacity instead. So Renowned Might, you get +1 damage to your melee weapons, and Righteous Tenacity, the target can use 2 fight abilities, but then strikes last. Either fight twice or +1 damage. But you gotta get the 10+ to get the strike, the 2 fights. And then you get 6s across the board for summoning all of your manifestations. Nagash is, of course, still here. Usharon, bad boy that he is, Mortarch Delusion. Actually, my favorite Mortarch miniature by far. He's also the newest, which makes a lot of sense. Still the old Abhorrent Ghoul King, because they didn't redo his miniature, even though they redid the Blood Knight one for the other vampires. And then the Royal, with nobody mounted on it, which is nice because, I mean, this just makes them the one and only model kit for this army. So your zombie dragons mounted on mounted. There he is, the Grand Justice Gore main. I love him so much. The Archregent, your Hal Falconer Falcons. Here's our new unit. 4+ save, 6+ ward, 2 control, 5 health. He can shoot his flock. It's a 12-inch range, 1 attack, 4+4 +d6 damage. And then his Filthy Talons and Fangs have 5 attacks, 3s and 3s, red 1 damage. 2 pretty standard hero attacks. Your hero phase, Benign Eyes. This unit's gripe is a token, so it's the little falcon. If it's not in the battlefield, pick an enemy unit within 18 to be the target. And not in combat. Place the unit's gripe next to the target. If the target is destroyed, well, its gripe on it removed from the battlefield. So basically, it goes away when they're destroyed. Winged Reconnoiter. While this unit's gripe's next to an enemy unit, ward rolls can't be made for damage points inflicted by enemy units. Made by friendly serf units and this unit. So basically, he turns off ward saves as long as the serfs are fighting. And then Sir Felgrin is abroad. While you believe this delusion, it's his own delusion. Subtract 10 from the control scores of enemy units while they're in combat with any friendly serfs units or any friendly non-hero Flesheater courts, monsters, or beasts. So he gets that delusion. He's just, I've come, I'm abroad. I love him so much. He's the Alan Quartermain of this army. What a great army. You also get delusions like for the Kingdom from the Ghoul King. In fact, while you believe this delusion, add 2 to charge rolls for knights and Flesheater courts monsters while they're wholly within 12 of this unit. I think he has for the Kingdom as well. His is Majestic Menagerie. While you believe this delusion, add 1 of the attackers to companion melee weapons used by Flesheater courts heroes while they're within 12. So all the dragon weapons get +1 attacks. And then Usharon's is the One True King. Add 1 to run rolls and charge rolls for friendly Flesheater courts units, and you're -1 for enemies. And then melee weapons used by serfs have anti-charge +1 rend while they're wholly within friendly territory and didn't charge. What a great delusion. Nagash clearly does not get a delusion for exactly that reason. You can be an accusation of regicide if you take Gormain. While you believe this delusion, add 1 of the damage characteristic of melee weapons used by serfs and knights that are wholly within 12 of any friendly Flesheater courts heroes that have any damage counts allocated to them. So like he just accuses you of trying to assassinate him. And then Musician's Play for the Archregent. While you believe this delusion, subtract 1 from hit rolls for shooting attacks that target friendly Flesheater courts units while they're wholly within 12 of this hero or of a friendly hero. Because basically he wants to protect the heroes from being shot at. The Ghoul King can do Code of Honor. While you believe this delusion, add 1 of the damage characteristic of melee weapons used by friendly non-unique Flesheater courts heroes for attacks that target an enemy hero. The Gore Warden, Defender of the Kingdom. While you believe this delusion and this unit's on the battlefield, add 1 to charge rolls for friendly Flesheater courts units that are wholly within 12 of a friendly Flesheater courts hero, and then add 2 to charge rolls instead if they were also set up in the same turn. When using a Kingdom Deluded ability, you can pick this delusion even if the unit is patrolling the border, so they're off the table. The Cardinal, a Banishing Liturgy. While you believe it, add 2 to the banishment rolls for Flesheater courts units. Friendly Flesheater courts units have a ward save of 4+ against damage points from spells, prayers, and manifestations. That's an awesome ability, especially for metas that want to use the manifestations a whole lot, because a lot of armies like them because they're free models basically. Man, that's a great ability. Just believe that and you get 4+ ward. Who else is delusion in here? I think that's pretty much it because that's all the heroes. We got our Crypt Hunter Courtier, who is still a hero. He's just a noble. Oh, he's a hero. Yeah, and a noble. Does he get a delusion? No, he doesn't. Does the Flayer, the Infernal? Nope. Nope, because they're not quite heroes. And our Royal Beast Flayers with Beast Flare weapons. Anti-Beast +1 rend, anti-Monster +1 rend. 3 attacks, 4s and 4s, 1 damage. They get Hunter's Instincts. And they're like a mixed unit. Infantry Champion 1 out of 10. Yeah, they're just the same. It's just a unit of dudes. Enemy monsters can't use rampage abilities while they're in combat with this unit. In addition, subtract 1 from the damage characteristic of melee weapons used by enemy monsters and beasts if they're in combat with this unit, because they're like pinning you down. That's awesome. And they didn't bother with a mixed profile. They just give them all 6+6+ and 1 health and 1 control. That's so much easier. Already talked about the throne. And we're into Armies Renown. All right, the Equinox Feast You can use Felgrin, any non-unique, non-monster heroes, and any serfs, but no other Regiments of Renown. So this is like his going out to see the world army. I think he's more of an Alan Corman, I guess, than a Robin Hood. I'm trying to think of yeah, he's a character. He's a rogue. He's Green Arrow. he's Ollie Quinn. Battle traits: the Equinox Parade, clad in tattered Damalian garments of flayed flesh. They skid around in a mad jubilant procession. The first battle round, maybe he's the Pied Piper. Add 1 to run rolls for friendly Equinox Feast units for each other friendly Equinox Feast unit that ran this turn, so +1 for every additional unit that runs. Add D6 to the distance that they retreat when they use the retreat ability. Once per turn, army in any charge phase. Declare, you can only use this ability in the second battle round. Roll D3 on a 2+ inflicted amount of mortal damage equal to the roll, basically. So basically, once per turn in any charge phase, pick each enemy unit that used a charge, because you send the birds after them. The Ritual Dance. In the third battle round, while a friendly Equinox Feast unit is in combat with an enemy unit that contains any champions, musicians, or standard bearers, it can move 6 inches of 3 when it makes a pile-on move. And then Eat Your Fill, passive. In the fourth battle round, each time a friendly Equinox Feast unit uses a fight ability, after it's resolved, if the unit is damaged, heal D3. If it's not damaged, return up to 3 slain models. And then Make Merry Till Morn. In the fifth battle round, friendly Equinox Feast units have a 4+ ward while they're within 3 of 2 or more other friendly visible feast units. So like every turn, basically you level up. It reminds me a little bit of like old Dark Eldar. Your heroic trait, Lord of Revelries. Ignore the first damage point that would be allocated to the unit each phase. Artifact, Broken Scepter of the Solstice. Pick a friendly Equinox Feast unit that's been destroyed to be the target. This unit can use this ability if it was destroyed, but if it does, this unit must be the target. Set up a replacement unit identical to the target, wholly within 6 of a feast unit and more than 9 from the enemy. Just come back to life. And then your spare spell is Solarite Flares. Pick a friendly Equinox Feast wizard to cast this spell. Pick a point in the battlefield that's visible to them. And pick each unit, friendly and enemy, within 3. Cast on a 6 on 2d6. Roll a die for each target. On a 3+, subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks until the starting next turn. You basically just throw a flashbang at them. You can summon the Callus, and then, Callus. And then your Prayer Lore, a Midsummer Mania. Oh man, Florence Pugh shows up. Cast on a 4, pick a priest, and pick a visible friendly unit wholly within 12, and then roll a d6. Return D3 slain models to the target unit. If the chanting roll is an A+, D3 + 3 instead. Then we've got our Regiments of Renown, the Horror of Hallows Watch. You get just 1 Terrorgeist. Anybody can take a Terrorgeist. He's just a monster. It's the Beast of Gévaudan. It's the thing in the woods. His abilities are Dark Hunt. In your charge phase, if this unit's not in combat and it's not used to run a retreat ability in the same turn, it must use the charge ability. And if it would allow it to move within a ½ inch of a visible enemy unit, it must do so. So it's just going to come after anything. It's not controllable. And then Ravenous Shrieks. Each time an enemy is destroyed by its shooting attack, add 1 of the attack characteristics of its Death Shriek for the rest of the battle. So it's kind of like a character Terrorgeist that you get to take. And then I love this one, the Scarlet Jury. So it's 1 Goremain, a Decapitator, and 10 Crypt Guard. This is such a cool one. Now, here's the cool thing though. Cities of Sigmar, Caradron, Slaves of Darkness, Night Haunts, Ossiarch Bone Reapers, Soulblight Graveguards, Iron Jaws, Cruel Boys, Ogre Maw Tribes, and Sons of Bahamut can take this. I am absolutely paying this for my ogres. This is so cool. Punishment for the crime. You believe the accusations of regicide delusion at all times. So I love that it's just a not only Death Army one. None may escape Usharan's justice. They'll ally with whoever to bring you to justice. That is such a cool unit. I love that so much. And then we got our cool new Chronowatch. So it's kind of that box set. It's 2 units of big guys, so the Crypt Horrors and the Crypt Flayers. Some Beast Flayers, so the unit from the Warcry box, and then the Abhorrent Gore Warden, which is the winged guy, again, from that 2-player box set. So kind of an elite army. 10 Beast Flayers, 3 Crypt Horrors, 3 Crypt Horrors, and a Gore Warden. Your battle trait is once per battle, Delusions and Madness. Declare this use of this ability at the start of each battle round, so you pick a delusion. On a 1 to 3, you must pick a different. On a 4 to 6, you must pick the same. For the rest of the battle round, you believe this delusion. And you get 2 to choose from. Great Feast. It's heal 1 to each target. Pick a friendly unit in the battlefield to be the target. Instead, return D3 same models. Basically, so your serfs get D3 guys back and your Crypt Horrors would get 1. So everybody basically comes back to life a little bit. And then Delusions of the Nightly Host. Why you believe this delusion? If the unmodified charge roll for a friendly hero on a night unit is 8+, add 1 to its hit rolls. So hard 8s give you +1 to hit, or, I mean, you're going to want to just do the Great Feast all the time, and your units will just never die. So that means that your big guy units will heal 1, and then if it surfs, just get guys back. But it does mean as you chip away at them, they will slowly die. And then let's look at your units. So that Baron Gore Warden, just a decent fighter all around, 7 wounds, 5+, 6+, flies. He's a wizard, 5 attacks, 3s and 3s, rend 1, damage 2. And then Sound the Pursuit. Pick a friendly unit wholly within 12 of this unit to be the target and roll 2d6 and a 6+ until the start of your next turn. When making charge rolls for this target, add 1 to the number of dice rolled to a maximum of 3, then remove 1. So it's roll 3 dice, pick the highest. Beast Flayers, they lose some of their abilities. So they have Lie of the Land. If you see it's not within combat, it's wholly within 6 of a battlefield edge, you can remove it and set it up wholly within 6 of a different battle edge and then more than 6 from the enemies. They can just jump around. And the board's not that big. So they're just going to circle the board all game. And Gore, you need them. And then your Crypt Horrors, 4 attacks, 4s and 3s, run 1 damage 2. They don't hit quite as hard as Ogres, but still 4th health and then a 5+, 6+. Holy Blades of Bone, pick an enemy unit in combat with this unit to be that charge this turn. Roll die for every model in the target unit. For every 5+, do mortal damage. So basically 3 chances. You're going to do 1 mortal wound basically when they charge, but they have reinforcements. That's amazing. So the Crypt Horrors come back to life. Yeah, that's no joke. So get them in as quick as possible. And the Crypt Flayers have Death Scream, 4 attacks, 4s and 3s, run 2 damage 1. They can shoot in combat. So that's 12 attacks. That's a decent shooting unit. And then Piercing Talons, 4s and 3s, run 1 damage 1. And then they got Unholy Chorus. Pick a visible enemy within 10. For the rest of the turn, subtract 1 from the amount of the target's control score, subtract an amount from their control score equal to the damage points they took in the shooting phase. So you scare them. So I love this. The big guys coming back is very different. The Flayers are a fantastic second line shooting unit, and the Beast Flayers will just jump around scoring objectives. So the Horrors and the Gore Warden can go and do damage, although he can kind of go off on his own. I wouldn't depend on him, but he's not terrible. So you can pick 1 of 2 abilities for them. Either the Delusion of the Sentinel, while you believe this delusion, add 1 of the ward rolls for friendly units while they're on objective. So 4+ wards, which is amazing. And then Delusion of the Hunter, while you believe this delusion, add 1 of the wound rolls for combat attacks made by friendly units while no models are contesting an objective. So I think Sentinel, like just +1 ward, keep you alive. You're already wounding pretty well with most things. So I would say Sentinel's probably the one you want to pick, because again, it's random if you get it or not. You're going to get it like 2 out of 3 turns probably based on the roll. And then for Flyboy, his enhancements, he can have either once per battle reaction. When you declare the Delusions of Madness, you can reroll the delusion roll. That's really handy for getting the one you want for the turn. But it's only once per battle. And then Companion of the Hunt. End of any turn, if your general's not in combat, they can move 3 inches. They can't move into combat as part of that move. That one's neat. Choirmaster, pick a visible enemy unit within 6 of the general to be the target. And then for the rest of the turn, add 1 of the damage characteristic of friendly unit's ranged weapons for attacks that target that enemy unit. So he can coordinate the Flayers and give them +1 damage. So they're going to have damage 2 shrieks at rend 2. That is horrifying. That is it's once per battle, but it's very cool. And then once per battle again, because except for Companion, they all are. Pick an enemy unit that started the battle with 3 or fewer models and is in combat with your general to be the target. Your opponent must decide whether the target will accept or refuse your challenge. If they accept for the rest of the phase, when you fire it, they have to fight each other. If they refuse, they get strike last. So basically, they either have to only fight your general or they get strike last. So this is a neat one. Lots of beefy fighting units. Recycling the Crypt Horrors is a choice. And then, again, if I was going to rank these, because they're all once per battle and Companion of the Hunt isn't the best, but it could be really good because it can push you around objectives. It can put your control score on stuff. Your control score is 2. And the ability that like the Shriek reducing controls means he could just pull objectives. But he can't move into combat, so they can still zone him off zones. I think it's a tie between Companion of the Hunt and Almost Lucid. Although Choirmaster is super powerful, but it just might not happen. No, you can make it happen. You can just make Choirmaster happen. Like, they're all pretty equal. I think Choirmaster is really powerful. Companion's handy, and then Almost Lucid could be, but it could just fail. Yeah, I think Choirmaster is probably my top one. Then Companion, then Lucid, and then Challenge is probably last. Because you're playing Spearhead, right? You're not the tankiest thing in the world. All right, Path to Glory. You're gonna become a knight. You're a knight errant. You're gonna be a Flesheater Courts hero with a cool tainted talon and fangs. You're either a landed noble, an Usherite cleric, or a blooded royalty, a wizard. So like one of those 3 paths. Of course, you take all your cool upgrades and weapons that you think are other things. And then you're either a noble, you're gonna be a Path of the Subjects. So this is for your units instead. And that's it. So there we go. The new armies update for the 4th edition for Flesheater Courts. And this cool new model, the High Falconer Felgrin. I like they gave us a unique character. I love his story. I love that he has his own army. And that's really cool. And it's kind of a greatest hits. You build an army around the theme that you like. I love the Scarlet Jury being taken in any army. That is really cool. And mostly because this is one of the coolest collections of miniatures in Warhammer Age of Sigmar. Having almost any, like, that's 9 armies that can take it, or 10 armies that can take it, including Sons of Bahamut. What a cool unit. Yeah, what a cool choice. They just did more of what I already like about this army. They gave them more ways to play. They gave them cool different models. They included them in other rosters, which I think is really cool. They gave them a really cool big guy spearhead. So overall, this is a win. I mean, they deserve it. Like last in, first out from last edition. Not getting a bunch of new models, but what they did get is cool play-wise, and it just gives you more reason to unpack the army. This one from an army that had very little unit selection in first edition Age of Sigmar, to having a bunch of variation where you can play the big critters, the serfs, the knights, and all of your heroes are just the coolest Grimdark models probably on the planet. When it comes to like weird Grimdark ghouly shit, they get converted into all kinds of things. So I love this. This is my favorite of these 2 books today, but I'm biased because I like Flesheater Courts and I like the weirdness of it all, and the fact they think they're knights and the madness theme, and yeah, the model's just great. So there it is, my review of Death Battletome Flesheater Courts. I think the Flesheater Courts players will probably be pretty happy, at least those that play it not just for the rules, because obviously I can't comment on that. I'm not a meta player. I don't chase the meta. I like options and story and vibes, and the model's really cool, and hopefully this takes some of the sting out of like not having your Battletome for a long time at last edition. So thanks for workshops sending this along for me to check out. Thank you guys for watching. I'm Ash.